Okay, Bramborough back with some more Grand Tactician Civil War. Got a Union campaign going on here in version 1.07 beta. Well, we're now into August. The battles that we fought in the beginning of the campaign are now about 3 weeks ago in game time. And frankly, not much has happened since then. We'll cover what's happened with the naval stuff. All of our blockade fleets have now established blockade. All 6 of them are in blockade mode and executing blockades on various ports. There have been some attacks. The Confederate starting squadrons came out and conducted raid attacks. I think we had 4 separate attacks, all of which were unsuccessful by the Confederacy, including none of them degraded our fleets enough to prevent the blockade. I think I had one fleet that dropped just low enough that it temporarily stopped blockading, but didn't retreat and was able to resume blockade mode just a day or two later. So that happened. Up here on the rivers, our scouting squadrons got up to high enough readiness that I could put them out. They can't move very far up these rivers yet because of various forts. Hyman, Henry, and Donelson here, and Fort Pillow here. That's about as far as we can go. Interesting point. Anyone who's read a lot about the war probably is aware of Fort Henry and Donelson. Okay, they were captured in early 1862. It was kind of the first major federal success in the Western theater. Fort Hyman, much more obscure. I had never heard of Fort Hyman, and I started kind of looking around at what exactly is this based on. Well, Fort Hyman was essentially part of Fort Henry. Fort Henry sat right here on the Tennessee River, and they put a battery across on the other bank. And when I say they, I mean the fort commander, the fort garrison. This was not an independent fort. They just put a battery on the other side of the river. Same garrison, same commander, not really a fort, a separate fort in its own right. They should really... I don't think it should be here, to be honest. They should really just consider it part of Fort Henry. But, that's why it's there. It was historical. It was just part of the Fort Henry defenses. Interesting point about that. Today, the Tennessee River has changed a little bit over the 150 years since. And the main fort, Fort Henry, the site, is now completely underwater. It is submerged underneath the Tennessee River. That old battery site, Fort Hyman, is actually the only part of Fort Henry that's left on dry land. And it can be visited. I don't know if it's a historical site. It's part of a park or something. I don't know the answer to that. But anyway, that's what this Fort Hyman thing is. And I've got one scout. I had him here sitting near Cairo, but I'm bringing him up here. The Missouri State Guard has moved up into Missouri. I've got the Missouri Army over here building a fort, and they're about half done with it. Forts build a little faster than they used to, it seems to me. But I got a fort here to help out with St. Louis. Basically, my only goal in Missouri is to not lose St. Louis. That's about it. And I don't want to put a whole lot of troops over here. I'm hoping that a fort will help out. But I'm bringing a scout gunboat over here just to get an actual sight on the Missouri State Guard. This is an older scouting report. We see a supply depot being built here, so I think that's where he is. Anyway, Navy stuff. So, scouts on the Western Rivers. And then the other thing, I talked in the first episode about something I'm going to try I've never done before, and that's I've got a picket line. Each one of these is just a single steamer or, gunboat or something. Most of them are steamers because I took the Potomac flotilla and broke it up to form this. And what these guys are doing is sometimes it happens. It hasn't happened to me a whole lot that I remember. But I guess people are... You see tons of mentions online about, well, the Confederate goes amphibious and sails right up here and lands with no warning at New York. Or elsewhere up here on the coast. And that's what this picket is here for. If an army on transports comes up this way, I think that they will turn it around and make it go back. They're not going to do anything against a Confederate naval force, not even a small one. But they should prevent an army from coming up. And I've got so many of them so that their combat radiuses overlap. Right? There is no way to come up here without crossing the combat radius, the little radius, and the, not the big one, the little one. So we got interlocking engagement zones all the way across here to the map edge. And there they will sit for the remainder of the campaign. Okay. So this is interesting right here. Notice that we have a POW camp. I didn't build that. Apparently, in the summer 1861 start, the Union starts with a POW camp already built. I had no idea. And we're already overcrowding it. I am not going to put money into that. As a matter of fact, I also don't want the CSA getting state support. I'm going to let that percolate for a while. I am interested to see if it is visible. Like if somewhere there's a tooltip telling us that see if there's an idea of how much state support they get from imprisoned soldiers. I don't see it here. I don't know if it will ever actually tell us. I assume that camp must have been... well, I don't know that. Maybe that is a new thing in 1.07. I don't ever remember seeing this, playing a CSA in 1.06. I feel like I would have noticed that at some point. Because especially 2 campaigns ago, there was a lot of activity in this area. We even had armies kind of marching in I feel like it... Anyway, enough said about that. For weapons, not much has happened. I did... the Hall rifle project did fill up. I took that. So we've got a few Hall rifles. And 3,000 Hall rifles and 2,500 Hall carbines. I have not farmed them out yet, but they are in the armory. I also ordered 128 24-pound howitzers, since that's the only artillery we can order right now. And then I took one other project. I took the recruit offices. So we have one level of that now. Already talked a little bit about what's going on in Missouri. Here in Kentucky, Grant's Army, still red readiness. It feels like readiness is coming up a little slower now. Grant has he has all of his infantry and his artillery is starting to arrive. So this is a this is an actual army now, rather than just a command waiting for its troops. It's still going to be quite a while before these little cav brigades show up. As far as I can tell, Polk has not left Nashville, although this location is about a week old now. In the Appalachians in Western Virginia, Army of the Northwest has moved over this way. You know, maybe I ought to get a scout. Yeah, I probably ought to get a scouting gunboat up here too. Matter of fact, before I forget, I'm going to bring one over. Right now, these guys are just sitting in front of the forts. Let's bring Scout Ron 4 up. And meanwhile, McClellan can't really do much of anything. He's still at yellow readiness, and he's got a really bad supply situation. So before he continues doing anything in Western Virginia, I've got him building a supply depot here. These two armies, McDowell's and Patterson's. Patterson he's got a little bit of a supply issue himself. And so I've got him crossing the river to grab this depot at Harper's Ferry, which is what I wanted him to do at the beginning of the campaign before Johnston invaded Maryland. So he's doing that. And I sent him over here because both of the Confederate armies are now co-located here, down near the Rappahannock. So there's no Confederate army over here right now. No, just as I say that, there is a supply depot being built right here. So there's something here. Either the CSA has formed a new army, or that might be the Hampton Division, which has come up this way. I got a whole bunch of gunboats building for scouts. As soon as some of those complete, I probably ought to get some here on like the Potomac, the Rappahannock, the York, and the James rivers, just for eyes, right in here. And then finally, the other thing that has happened is we have reached the end of our contracts in these armies. So contracts have expired. Their strength has dropped a good bit. And knowing that was coming, I recruited several infantry brigades up here at the Eastern Department up here in Harrisburg, and they are currently transferring to these armies. And I'm not going to use them as they're not going to remain brigades. I'm just going to fold those men into the depleted brigades. And so McDowell will be up to about 25,000 here in a couple of days as soon as those brigades arrive, and Patterson will be up to about 14,000 from his current 10. And that's basically the armies that I'm going to go with for the rest of 1861. Probably should get a brigade over here to McClellan as well. Although most of his brigades, I don't remember noticing this before when playing Union. But his brigades actually have really long, some of them have really long contract lengths. Schleich, 36 month, 34 month remaining. These guys these were 90-day guys. See, they're down to 670. But so these are the guys who re-enlisted. But there's some 36-month contract troops over here, and I don't really understand how that happened. And then this is the West Virginia militia, who were already small to begin with, and they're about to drop to 500 men here in 9 days. So I think I've got another brigade coming up here in Harrisburg, and we'll send him over to McClellan to kind of plus him up. Grant's got his armies, and then I think I have a brigade or two recruiting at Indianapolis that we'll send over here to Lyon. And that's basically all that's going on. It's kind of static right now while we try to get some armies together to fight with. And so whenever we get closer to that, I'll be back. Okay, well, it's been about another month and not much movement on the campaign map. There's been stuff happening, but not much campaigning from either side. It's not like I'm sitting here with a stopwatch or anything, but it feels like in 1.07 that readiness increases slower and supply seems slower. I think that's interesting. And Johnny Reb hasn't been moving around a whole lot either. Just as one example, let me, for example, right here, Nathaniel Lyon is sitting in St. Louis, right next to a Tier 2 supply depot that is chock full of stuff, right? There's plenty of small arms ammo, there's plenty of provisions, there's plenty of artillery ammo, and he's sitting right next to it. His supply flow is 83%. I don't think we would be seeing that in any prior version of Grand Tactician. I believe he'd be at 100% easy. Yeah, well, he's not. So it's not just about the amount that is in a supply depot now, because there's obviously plenty here, and his force isn't very big. It is a little bigger. He's up to almost 10,000 men. But the flow at which it gets to the army, I think it appears to be a bigger factor now. I don't know how else to I don't know. I probably need to get in here and kind of figure out these tooltip and flows and everything a little bit closer than I've ever really felt the need to focus on it before. In any case, let's see. In policies, our Militia Act 2 completed. So we got a little bit more manpower and the 24-month contracts going now as well. So I'm able to open the spigot a little bit on troops. And once I completed that, I've popped over here to government funding, because I want to, not so much because I want the econ subsidies, but more because I want to unlock the Tariff Act and the Confiscation Act. I don't know if I'm going to do all. I don't know if I'm going to do both of those just right in a row, but I'll probably do the Terrafact and then need to pop over here and get Military 2 opened up for increased military subsidies. But I'm trying to get some of the budget stuff addressed a little bit earlier than I typically have in past playthroughs. Okay, do have a few projects open now. It's a little tempting to go for the rebore muskets, but I don't think I need to do that. And it's also a little tempting to go for the cast artillery as well. I think that's a good project. The Napoleon and the 14-pound James are both good guns. But I have the 24-pound howitzers available for smooth bore batteries. And so I think I'm going to hold out on these and go for the rifled artillery or the Parrots. I haven't decided which one to do yet. Just take a look at them. And I know I've talked about that before in previous campaigns. Which one to go for? I really like the rifled artillery. Gives the 3-inch ordnance rifle and also the 6-pound wired. And I like both of those. We used them both in the last campaign, and I had not used the wired before, but it seemed to do quite well. The reason I'm thinking about doing Parrots instead, though, is the 10-pound Parrot is extremely similar to the 3-inch ordnance. And I think I'm interested in the heavier Parrots, the 20 and 30-pound Parrots. Not so much for tactical battle use, but as Union, I would like to think that I'm probably going to be doing a little bit more fort sieging than the CSA typically does, right? There's Fort Norfolk here at Norfolk, there's Fort Macon here, there's a couple forts down at Wilmington, there's forts around Charleston. And I am almost certain to at least go as far as Norfolk, Fort Macon. There's a fort here too. I believe this is Fort Thompson. And perhaps some of these forts down around Wilmington. And so for the forces that I use on those types of operations, I'm thinking that those heavier Parrots may be useful for that. Okay. One other thing that I have noticed is I've been advancing time in August 1861 is, if you look in this tooltip, not at the very top, but kind of in the top half there, the latest changes in manpower. All right, 2,000 in casualties, 4.7 thousand in attrition, and 2.4 thousand return to service. In previous versions, including 1.06, it was pretty common, pretty standard, I would say, that returned to service number would equal or be right around in the same ballpark as attrition and casualties. Right? So right now, casualties and attrition combined would be 6.7 thousand over the past 3 months, the trailing 3 months. And we would see a number of return to service of around 6.7 thousand. Well, as you can see there, we're not getting that. Okay. So it seems to me that, and so what that, my perception in the game of what that did was, attrition has always been a pretty significant factor in terms of the number of men lost, but the replacement rate would always keep up with it. And the return to service number would keep up with it. Therefore, the army sizes would typically just remain where they needed to be, or would grow. And I don't know if that's happening now. Right? A little bit more fluctuation in the army sizes, even when they're not in combat. That's just an initial impression that I noticed in the tooltip, and we will see how that goes as the campaign continues. And if that's true, then that means things like not moving in the winter, not moving in bad terrain, not moving in bad weather. Like, a lot of times you'll just see storm, like here, right? There's bad weather here in Virginia, and we never, or at least I never, really paid attention to that. It's really just kind of a cosmetic effect. Well, maybe not now. You get that bad weather modifier that increases attrition, which that in itself is not new. But if it's becoming less consistent, that replacement rate keeps up with attrition, then that can become more significant in how we move these armies around. It's way too early to tell, right? We're only 6 weeks into the campaign, but I'm already starting to get kind of a feeling that the pace of campaigning may slow down a little bit. Just an impression. We'll see how it turns out. Okay. And what else has happened? Oh, yeah. We got a newspaper headline that the CSA went with the 2-year volunteers, which is expected. I think the last intel report I saw said that they were working on that. Okay. And I've also started to get some of these. I'll just... yeah, they're at yellow. I've also started to get some of these scout runs recruited as ships get repaired. And I'm just putting them over here in these tidewater rivers, just to help keep an eye on Johnny Reb's armies. And see that the Hampton division is bopping around down here. Didn't have sight on him until I moved this gunboat up into the York. And let's take this guy. I think he can sneak around this cape here without getting engaged by the James River Squadron. Let's see if that happens. Let's just go park him up here right by Richmond. Should I be able to do that? Probably not. But hey, he doesn't have a fort there. Okay. In any case, the Confederates have started to move. Well, let me just pop around the other theaters real quick. Grant's army is pretty much all together. I think he's still waiting on some cav, but he's up to yellow readiness. He is in a good supply state. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to send him straight down toward Nashville or come over here and start working on these forts. I don't know yet. But he's just about ready for... Excuse me. He's just about ready for operations. Lyon's army is a little bit bigger now and has gotten some more men. I recruited some brigades, which he needed badly because he already had small brigades to begin with. And then their contracts ran out, so there were like a couple hundred guys apiece. So more brigades have come to Lyons, and he's up to almost 10,000 men. Still just the same number of brigades. I combined them. And the good news is that these are all rifle armed. Actually, most of the troops in our armies are rifle armed. Due to their contracts expiring, and did get the Hall Rifle project done, which is a political project, not a military one. And it just kind of worked out that I've been able to get rifles to just about all the troops in most of the armies. Grant's army of the Tennessee is still has quite a few muskets in it. The Missouri State Guard has moved up here to the north bank of the Missouri. I've sent some scouts over here to kind of keep an eye on him. He's just about done with the supply depot. And I'm thinking, yeah, and he's still small. Our fort is done here at St. Louis. That's what Lyon was doing. I'm thinking let's send old Lyon over here to just chase the Missouri State Guard away. That'll work. And then McClellan's army over here in Western Virginia, the Army of the Appalachians, just about done with the supply depot. It seems like forts construct faster now and supply depots construct slower than before. But we've got the Army of the Northwest, which came up through here, initially very, very small, but he's actually picked up some men. And this is an 11,000 man force on the North Bank. I believe this is Garnett commanding this, if they haven't changed commanders. And so Garnett is in Ohio. I would have come down here to do something about that earlier, except, you know, once I committed the money to the supply depot, I felt like I needed to stay and fix it. So momentarily, McClellan, who has a good supply situation, he's got plenty of ammo. I think he does. Well, he actually doesn't. He's actually a little low on rifle. I think he'll be okay, though. I'm going to send him over here. And the two armies are about the same size, so I think we'll probably have a fight over here somewhere in this area. Let's see what happens there. However, the big news here is that the Army of the Potomac, the Confederate Army of the Potomac, which we saw in the last episode, is coming back. They've gotten on the train, and I think they're headed back up toward McDowell, near Alexandria. Army of the Shenandoah also started moving, but Joe Johnston is heading back toward Winchester. At least that's what it looks like right now. Just let things. Oh no, no. I think they're both headed to Winchester. So the question is, can we concentrate between these two armies? There's about 50,000 men. There's 11,000 right now in Joe Johnston's army. With more coming. So 11,000 here at the moment, and 31,000 in the Army of the Potomac. So 42,000 men between these two armies. However, it's going to be more like 60,000 once Johnston's recruited brigades get to it. In between our Shenandoah army, we got about 17,000 here. We got about 20. We've got about 40,000. So the next battle that occurs, which I think is going to be pretty soon here, even if we can manage to get our two forces combined to reinforce each other, which is a little tricky right in this area. It's going to be either an evenly matched battle or we'll be outnumbered. So option one is try to run McDowell across here. I don't think he's going to win that race. Bring Patterson over this way and try to meet them kind of right in this area. The most reliable way to ensure that both of our armies can reinforce each other would be to try to bring McDowell up the river this way. But then that leaves Alexandria and Washington open. I'm honestly not sure what the right move is here. But we need to get these two armies together somehow. And quite frankly, the Confederates are operating kind of on interior lines here, and they've kind of stolen a march on us. Oh, I forgot to mention. Patterson came over here and captured Winchester. So I don't think they like that very much, and they're coming to do something about that. Okay, I'm going to try to get Patterson to here. I'm actually going to force march him. And I'm going to force march McDowell to here. And I don't know if that's a good idea to force. He can actually take the train. Because force marching is going to ramp up attrition. But I need to make sure that he gets far enough over here that the mountains and the river don't block reinforcement from McDowell. Let's see what happens. Yeah, Patterson's moving out pretty good there. I should have forced marched McDowell. Crap. Okay, so this is interesting because I was in defensive mode and apparently Johnston is happy to do a siege. Which is not going to go well for us, apparently. Although why is not very clear, because we've got 16,000 infantry to their 10,500. So why it's so heavily in the Confederacy's favor, I don't know. Unless it's because of morale. You know, they're straight... Yeah, they're all eager and our guys are all confident. Which makes sense because we're in Virginia. Maybe that's the reason why. However, both of these armies are now locked into battle. So maybe the right thing that... Okay, so there's two options. Either throw the throw McDowell into this siege, and as soon as he's in there, we do a tactical battle, and Johnson will be isolated. He won't be reinforced by the Army of the Potomac. However, Army of the Potomac is marching this way. So if we get McDowell tied up, Beauregard may march right into Alexandria. And now that we know that both of these armies are tied up, we could move to force an engagement with Beauregard. And that would be our 23,000 to his 31,000. And do we have the option to convert this into a tactical battle? We do. Okay. Okay. I don't think we need McDowell here. I think Patterson can do this on his own. And try to defeat Johnston before his additional brigades show up. So actually, I want to stop McDowell. I don't want him entering this siege. And let's go ahead and convert this to a tactical battle. Okay, it's giving us a meeting situation. However, our deployment zone is pretty darn close to the unclaimed objective up here. The Confederate entry point is down here. So it can't be any closer than somewhere in this area, probably. Seems pretty clear that it's going to turn into kind of a defensive situation for us, and their most likely route is to try to come up this way through Winchester toward the objective along this turnpike. Got a little bit of engineering points, but I can't build anything. We'll be defending somewhere in this area. There's a few fences in here. That's, well, not much. At least not facing in the correct direction. I'm kind of thinking about kind of putting infantry down through here, but retaining the artillery up here on this high ground. That's my idea. One thing I want to point out about 1.07 is if I take Patterson and just put his army, just deploy his whole army as a group, notice where the artillery is. Up through 1.06, the default arrangement would be that all the infantry would line up, and then it would place the cav here, and then the artillery on the far left flank. I think anyone who's played the game has seen that many, many times. That's not a big deal for the player, right? We can move our units by divisions and just kind of put them where we want them to be. However, changing this default so that the artillery is more in the middle with infantry on either side of it, that will probably help the AI, because now they're, it would be pretty common that they would be lining up and their artillery would be hanging out on their left flank, pretty vulnerable to cav attacks or skirmishers or whatever. So maybe that won't be quite as common as before. I thought that was worth mentioning. Okay. We do have one cav unit in this army now, and it is tiny because that's the way that it is now before you get that cav reform project. So we've got a 400-man cavalry, well, 487 cav unit here. I'm going to send up to scout. And an interesting thing about this is at 487 men, these early game small cav brigades aren't large enough to put scouts out. See? I'm trying to... Yeah. Strength not sufficient for detachment. Which means he's not going to have quite as good a vision as in the scouting role as he would have. Okay. Alright, well, so I need to get my guys across the deployment line here, march them across, get the arty set up, send the cav out, see where Johnny Reb is, and I'll be back about the time that fighting's about to start. Unless I see something interesting about how the AI is maneuvering that I think is worth showing. Okay, some Confederate units spotted coming down this way, which was pretty much the expected route. Got the infantry, they're kind of forming a defensive position right back in here. And the cav was up in here, and Confederate cavalry, which is not very big at all, is crossing this creek in a different spot, kind of isolated. So I've sent our cav, who are Maynard armed, down here to have a pot shot at this cav and see how they do. Looks like they're dismounting. I do have cover, a little bit of forest cover down in here. Couriers running around. Here's some infantry coming up. Just about time to get the hell out of here. I don't think they're receiving return fire, though. Alright, let's get out of here before we get in trouble with this infantry showing up. Okay, the Confederates got a little bit more marching to do as the cav gets out of there. Okay, so the rebels are coming ahead into the town of Winchester. Our main position's back here. However, Several skirmisher units hold up in these buildings here in Winchester. That should give them some problems trying to get down toward the objective. So hold them up here for a while. They don't show a NATO symbol when they're in a building. You said you get the flags. There's 3 skirmisher units here. It looks like there's more here than there is. But all these units that are blue on the paper map or have a flag on the 3D map. They've got a few little Billy Yanks in them. Stewart's cavalry not having a good day. He's actually smaller than the skirmisher unit he's trying to attack. Nope, looks like I got another skirmisher unit here that's getting into some trouble. I don't think he's going to make it out of there. Yeah, he's not being responsive. No. He's going to break. And I'm not going to be able to do much about it. Okay. Confederate cavalry is routed. Our skirmisher has routed. This artillery's getting a little exposed back there. Let's try to loop our little cav unit back around here. No, that's too close. Not like that. Come over back here. Hopefully I don't forget about him. Skirm's doing a good job in town. Oh, we got some routed skirms now. We're trying to dig us out of those buildings. They're taking more casualties than we are in the process. That's all right. It's kind of interesting the way that they're doing that, though. I don't know. I mean, I didn't really have a lot of situations like this. I don't know if the AI would have kind of come in here trying to do that prior to 107. Let's see how our guys are looking. They've got their breastworks done down here. Oh, there's another skirmisher that's come in. Yeah, they don't want to leave that force in there, you know, behind them. So I've got breastworks along in here. There wasn't really a good spot here for George Thomas. He's just kind of here. One reserve brigade here. Refused a little bit. I've got refused a little bit on the right over here. The 3-inch ordnance is back up in here. He's got plenty of unobstructed field of fire all through here. And this is just a 12-pound howitzer. It's what I had in the arsenal. But he's got pretty good coverage back in here too, and they should be well back and safe from any fire. Actually, I think there's enough space in there. Probably tuck Thomas right onto this. That'll work. Kind of have long necker. And then I've got Kimes' division kind of back here so that if they want to flank us by coming around this way, he can just march right up here and get on this railroad track. If it develops some other way, well then Kimes available to go where he needs to go. Okay. Just loop the cav all the way back around behind him. Sure I gave that order correctly. Okay, now he's moving. Oh no, we still got some skirms in here somewhere. We're still trying to dig them out. That's good, because that keeps the artillery here. Hopefully Dodge and Beatty can get over here and get behind them and take out some arty. Okay, and these guys are moving over here. I think. Yeah. Might have lost sight on the arty there. There's still somebody in here? I don't know if there is or not. I don't think so. That's Abercrombie's skirms. Okay, these guys are musket are rifle armed, brother. They're just within range, and these guys are firing back. So this 3rd Brigade, they're rifle armed. Looks like it anyway. I don't know if that artillery is still going to be there by the time Beatty gets back around here. I just didn't want him slowed down by crossing the creek, and then that artillery could have turned and started firing on him. And he's so small, one canister pop, and it would have been decimated. Come on, get up here, skirms. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. No. These guys aren't really doing anything up here. I don't know what's up with that. Ooh, that artillery is still there. Go ahead and pull them in. When units build breastworks, when they're finished, they never quite get themselves in it perfectly straight. The problem with coming up here behind them and attacking this artillery is that this cav unit is not much bigger than the artillery units. Well, they're small too, aren't they? 40 men here. Okay, yeah. They're small too, so that'll work. Okay. Just make sure he's got a straight. Alright. Let's go to try. This might be a terrible idea. Started moving now. Yeah, they're gonna have. I don't think this is gonna work out. They're gonna get too close to the infantry. They're not going to be fast enough. If I let them continue, they're going to get themselves in trouble. Well, I think the skirmishers did okay there. 550 to 217. And that's all kind of preliminary. Now they're going to come up here and form up for their whatever they're going to do. It looks like they're wanting to form up over here, so let's get let's get Longnecker kind of over this way. They might try to just march around the position to the objective, like they did in that Maryland battle. Let's speed things up a bit. We'll see how this develops. Where are Jackson, Smith, and Wise going? It doesn't, says firing. He's not actually, well, I don't know if those trees are blocking his line of sight or not. Let's move these howitzers over here. Yep, double A's fire. Good deal. Okay, well, they want no part of the breastworks. That makes sense. Let's get Sanford's division over this way. Let's get Cadwallader's division up on this railroad line. Yeah, they're just trying to walk right around me. I think this is new. I don't think this would have happened before 107. Nope, now they're coming in to make an attack. See him turn. Both of our batteries banging away. Abercrombie doesn't get flanked here. Charging in. No, it was just coming in range. I think that's probably a smoothbore arm. Brigade. To 500. I don't know if we're really getting that much cover. I mean, the gap between casualties is really what we build up from all the skirmisher and cavalry stuff early. Right now, it looks like a pretty even exchange. Negley's brigade is the one that's getting hammered. They picked on the little one. That was pretty smart to do. Skirmishers right in front. They're shielding this brigade from some of the fire. $1,100 to $850. It's pretty close. And oh, by the way, okay, Nagley is broken. Abercrombie is not doing too much better. These are all rifle arm brigades. Turn your facing just enough that you're not taking that flanking debuff. There you go. Well, he's going to have fences to contend with for this. See if he can deliver some rear fire into that artillery. Doing okay. Thomas is getting a little toasty. Williams doing okay from the flank. Abercrombie is probably the most at risk. Wincoop doing alright. Let's get Sanford's division up here. Let's get Patterson a little bit closer up here. $1,600 to almost $1,300. Staying close. It's a pretty small margin. That's because pretty much the numbers engaged are even. We don't have Sanford's guys engaged yet. They're coming. Slowly. Now the cab is going to start playing. Oh my gosh, they got turned around, didn't they? About had it. Okay. Let's advance this division to. Well, it's a little bit of a mess with the railroad, but all right. Okay. All right. Get out. I think responding to that cav attack kind of, well, they routed. But I think that helped kind of break up the intensity of Confederate attack. 2100 to 1750. Almost done. It's back. It's back. Thomas back a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't. Sometimes they turn around and get themselves all messed up. They can't really. Okay. Because they are in, quote, retreat mode, unquote, doesn't mean that these brigades will actually retreat. Sometimes they don't. No. Yeah, this guy didn't get the retreat order here. How close are we on our percentage? We're at 11.7%. Okay, we should be safe. Hold long neck. Okay, just a little bit. Move your flank debuff. Okay. Oh, Abercrombie Road. Yeah, these guys didn't get the retreat memo either. Come back up here, Thomas. This may not be as done as I thought it was. Bit of a gap here in the middle of the line. Not that they've got much of a line either, just I don't really have anyone to come over here and put flanking fire on this brigade. Let's see if we can get Butterfield around this way. Thomas back in action here, firing as he marches forward. William's doing fine. Longnecker's about to have some problems. He's actually getting the worst of this. Or at least exchanging even casualties. I don't know what Thomas is doing there. Man, these two brigades. Actually, this brigade hasn't taken that many casualties, relatively speaking. And Longnecker's gone. We're at 16.2%. We've lost 2,700 men. We don't want to mess around and... Well, they've already entered retreat phase formally, although none of them appear to know that. Turned around. Well, I was going to back him out, but still got some resilience left. It's a pretty big brigade. Shooting. It says firing, but I don't see him firing. There we go. Abercrombie has left the field. Man, this is a bloodbath along this railroad. 33% casualties for the rebels. Almost 20% for us, 18%. Now he breaks. Whew. Well, that was pretty intense. A fight. Neither side lost any guns. Roughly similar cavalry losses. I probably should not have gone back there and tried to shoot at his arty with such a small cav force. Until the cav reform, they're probably only worth being a scouting unit. And notice they're calling this a withdrawal. It's withdrawn orderly from the field. Has it always said that? Okay. 5th Division is the Cav. They inflicted 66 casualties. I know they took more losses than that. 129. 1st Division did the most. They probably took the most casualties as well. They did. Nope. They did. It'd be kind of nice if it showed own casualties, enemy casualties on one report instead of having to flip back and forth. Fairly evenly distributed though. Even 3rd Division did 978. 2nd Division 1300. Our artillery did not do much, and that's to be expected with such small artillery units now, I'm afraid. Okay. Well, I thought that was a pretty interesting fight. The way that they came into the town and kind of cleared the skirmishers, I'm not sure that's something that the AI would always have done. And then, you know, we had the breastworks here, and they came all the way around here to flank the position. Of course, we had the railroad to help out. Luckily, I mean, that was pretty razor-thin margin there for casualty exchange for quite a while, and I think that was coming from the railroad. And given the fact that all of our brigades were rifle armed, that was pretty even exchange for a while until it finally started to go in our favor a little bit. That the way that the AI wants to flank a entrenched position, that in itself is not new, but the way that they're maneuvering to do it does seem a little new. You know, typically I think what we've seen in the past is, you know, there's an ordered position for them to go to, and they all want to line up. And then once they're all lined up and everyone's in place, then they will attack. And while they're doing that, the player can attack, and they get all disorganized, and they never get their attack to go. And y'all saw what they did here. A lot of those brigades were marching, you know, in movement as they're coming down here. And then all of a sudden, boom, the attack started. These two brigades here started marching forward, and these marching brigades turned and went into the attack. I don't know if I've seen them do it quite like that before. The only reason we won this battle is because I had a larger force. So, therefore, even though we're trading roughly equal number of casualties along that railroad, I had a lower percentage of my total force. And that's how they got to the threshold for the retreat faster than we did. If these had been even numbers, I don't know if we would have won that. And oh, by the way, you know, contemplating the next battle, going up with 23,000 under McDowell to Beauregard's 31,000. Ooh, I don't know how that's going to turn out. That's a pretty intense fight. And then also interesting, not the first time have seen that, you know, they're supposed to go in a retreat phase, and the individual brigades don't do it. They keep fighting. But yeah, they kept that up. It's pretty intense. %18.5 casualties to Patterson's force. And that is about maybe a 1.5 to 1 casualty exchange ratio. Okay, enough said about that. And that is not a very big national morale drop either. 0.5. Beatty defamed. That's the Cav commander. Really wasn't his fault. I told him to go charge all those guns. Which, those artillery units weren't very big. Okay, 2,500 infantry arms of some type. Now we got the message that they are withdrawing. Army of Shenandoah may not go into a retreat phase. And oh, by the way, we defeated the 11,000 actually in the army at the time of contact, but they got a lot more troops that were already on the way. Interesting. Okay, and yeah, Patterson's down to 13,000 men. Okay, well, that will do for this episode. If you like what we're doing with the channel, then leave a like, leave a comment, maybe even subscribe. If you're new to the channel, new to this series, and you want to see what's been going on so far in this campaign, then you know, I'm linking a playlist here to the rest of the series. At any rate, thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate it.